1914, the world believed the war would last only a few months. But it dragged on for long years. Millions of people found themselves in a hell they could never have imagined. The trenches became their home, mud, cold, constant fear. They waited for an order that could be their last. But the battle was not only against the enemy, it was against disease, hunger, and despair. Every night felt like it could be the last. Endless artillery shelling shook the ground, turning trenches into mass graves. The thunder of explosions, the screams of the wounded, the smell of smoke and blood, this was their reality. But in the chaos, there were rare moments of peace. Some wrote letters home, others warmed their hands over a small fire, and some stared at the sky, dreaming of a world without war. Letters from soldiers were their last connection to home. "Dear Mother, I am fine," they wrote, hiding the truth of what was really happening on the front lines. They didn't mention losing friends, marching into hopeless battles, or the constant fear of death. Only words of hope, the hope that one day they would return home. But the war spared no one. One order, thousands of young men charged forward. For many, it was their last step. Their lives ended within seconds, under a hail of bullets and shells. But it wasn't just men who fought. In the rear, millions worked tirelessly to keep the front lines supplied. Women took over factory jobs, producing weapons, uniforms, and ammunition. They worked 12-hour shifts to keep the war machine running. Without them, the front would have collapsed. Some women went directly to the battlefield. As nurses, they tended to the wounded under enemy fire, pulling men from the rubble, saving lives. For many, the war never truly ended. Even after victory, its scars remained forever. Then came Christmas, 1914. For a brief moment, enemies became human again. Soldiers left their trenches, shook hands, shared food, and even played football. In that moment, they were no longer enemies. They were just men who wanted to live. But in the morning, the order came to fire once again. Warfare had changed forever. Tanks, aviation, chemical weapons, the world had never seen such horrors. Old armies faced a new, merciless reality. Generals continued to fight by old rules, but this war followed none. By 1918, the war had finally ended. The world celebrated, but at what cost? Millions dead. Cities reduced to rubble, entire generations wiped from existence. Veterans returned home, but for many, it was no longer the world they had left behind. These faces, these photographs, that's all that remains. They never knew we would be looking at them 100 years later. But as we gaze into their eyes, we understand. They wanted just one thing: to survive. We remember. We will not forget.